Welcome back to NASCAR Lap by Lap with me, Garon Bach. We're going to take a look back at the Mexico City race weekend, look ahead at the tricky triangle of Pocono, and Matt Weaver will be joining us shortly to break down Mexico City and look ahead to Pocono as well. But as always, I hope you guys are having a great day. Let's jump right into it. Obviously, Shane Van Gisbergen clinched his way into the playoffs with a dominant day at Mexico City. Let's go ahead and get the results pulled up here. So, as you see here, 50-point day out of Shane Van Gisbergen. The points don't matter. He was 33rd in points entering the weekend. It doesn't matter for the in-season tournament as well. He's just here going to be racing for a championship starting in the fall. Another driver I highlighted was Alex Bowman. 41 points on the day, and it was notable because he had that back injury coming out of Michigan, a very hard hit. Some were worried that he would not even race this weekend, last weekend, but he did, and he persevered, went through it, fourth place finish. Then there in sixth, John Hunter Nemechek, Legacy Motor Club, another top 10. At this point, if you've been following this show here for about the whole season, I've mentioned Legacy Motor Club. They keep putting themselves in the top 10. We've not seen both drivers in the top 10 just yet, but they are consistently putting themselves in the top 10 regardless of the track, super speedways, road courses, your cookie cutter ovals. So we're now at a point to where I want to start seeing them produce more. Get both drivers in the top 10, maybe start producing top fives. And then here in eighth, Cole Custer for the Haas Factory team. Remember, Haas has had a strange couple of years, has had a strange past year, selling off all their charters except for the one, Tony Stewart getting out of it. Now we just have the Haas Factory team, but an eighth place day out of Cole Custer. And then finally, the hometown kid, Daniel Suarez. He put up a valiant effort on Sunday, led on the Prime broadcast. We all heard the crowds go crazy, heard how loud they cheered for him. But most notably, on Saturday, he won the race. He won the Xfinity Series race in a backup car, mind you. So that's now two Trackhouse racers who have won in a backup car, with Ross Chastain winning in the Coke 600. But Daniel Suarez went back to his home country, did something he's always wanted to do with the NASCAR, just the NASCAR main series being there, not NASCAR Mexico, but being able to win at a home track. Very important weekend for him. I'm excited to talk to Matt Weaver just overall about his experience there in Mexico City as well. Let's go to the back half of the results here. So obviously you had most of your big names back here. Looking near the bottom, I wanted to talk about Kyle Larson because that was just fun as a fan. We saw the qualifying laps on a course meant for F1. It was pretty neat because if you ever wanted to talk about the discourse of F1 and NASCAR, this was probably the track to do it, if not COTA. But I mean, this one was the track to do it because we saw Kyle Larson. He wrecked out early. He just went out there and put down qualifying laps trying to earn points. And that was exciting. It was thrilling as a fan because even though it's 1 point, that point is notable. If you remember last season, he missed the Coca-Cola 600 because of him trying to do the double, which I feel like at this point, we've talked about it after the Charlotte weekend, just stop doing it. But he missed out by 1 point. So logically, the 5-team thought, if we can gain 1 point, let's go for 1 point. And that's exactly what they did. We see Ryan Truex in 23rd. That's the 11 team, Denny Hamlin's team. The Joe Gibbs Racing team did what I thought they would. Ryan Truex, you see 0 points because he's not a full-time driver. He's just fill-in. But they finished 23rd. It was cool to see another face out there alongside with Catherine Legg as well. And she put out her performance there as well, finished 1 lap down. But now I want to highlight the main things that I wanted to touch on, the things that I kind of were a little upset about from the weekend, and not with them racing in Mexico City, but just the overall just playoff system, basically just the rule book. So starting off, you see Shane Van Gisbergen's now in 10th. Chase Elliott has had only finished in the top 20 all season. Tyler Reddick, Bubba Wallace behind them. Those two are going to be notable for Pocono as well whenever I reach into that. But we now see Chase Briscoe, who's put on his shoulders that he has to win. Joe Gibbs took the chance, put him in the 19. He basically has to win is what he's told himself. Alex Bowman, I mentioned the good points day, but here in playoff-wise, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. He's still only 22 points for the cut line, which he would have been a lot more. He would have had about probably a 30, 40 point buffer now. But due to Shane Van Gisbergen winning, that has messed up your Alex Bowman, your Chris Buescher, and your Ryan Preece. But here's the thing that we need to remember now. Who said that Shane Van Gisbergen is done winning? He can move himself up in the playoff ladder, basically have more playoff points for when the playoffs come. He could still win in Chicago. He could win at Sonoma. And then when the time comes for the playoffs, remember, we've got Watkins Glen. We've also got the Roval, 2 road courses. This is very notable because even though there's going to be one stretch in the playoffs to where he's going to have to do well, not just do well on the road courses. You need to remember this. At Michigan, he finished 18th. And while you're saying, okay, a top 20 finish, whatever, that's his highest finish on an oval. And that's notable because he's only been doing this for a couple of years now. He never was, whenever he was spending his time in the supercars, he was never racing on the ovals like this. But here he is. He's getting better every weekend. That's why if you're to compare this to the Harrison Burton win, it's kind of odd because Harrison Burton, he just did not perform the way people thought he would back whenever he was in the 21 Wood Brothers car. But here, he did well. Shane Van Gisbergen did well. He dominated the race. It was the largest margin of victory for a race that wasn't a fuel-saving race since, I believe, the 90s. Like you talk about that, put that into perspective. He owned this race. After stage 1, where Chase Briscoe won the stage, it just didn't matter really. It really just all kind of fell off because it was Shane Van Gisbergen who was out here just putting it all out there, dominating and dry, wet, whatever. No one was touching him. But now for the drivers below the cut line, Kyle Busch had a bad day. He finished last. Just was not a good day for Kyle Busch. AJ Allmendinger, I thought he would do well. But look, he's still 19th in points. We still have some more road courses. And we also still have a super speedway coming up. We also have Atlanta coming up. And while that track's still aging and being a little different, it's still, from what I understand, is racing like a super speedway. Michael McDowell and Ryan Preece round that out. But overall, for the weekend, it was exciting to see from a fan's perspective. The Xfinity Series race had a lot of notable moments in it as well, alongside the Cup Series race. Now, logistically speaking, it seemed to be a nightmare for most everyone involved. But the fact that NASCAR was able to do it was exciting. So the 2 things now I want to touch on are the fact that the playoffs are still the way they are, which NASCAR is wanting to change it, but we see it now. I mentioned, though, I'm not too upset about it because the way Shane Van Gisbergen has raced this season. But he was 33rd in points, and now he's going to be racing for a championship regardless of what happens the rest of the regular season. That's the issue. We're at a point to where I still believe that the playoffs are fun. I get it. I think that they are exciting whenever we're going to those cutoff races, those Daytonas back whenever we had Darlington. It's exciting to see a driver that you pull for, maybe some underdog, lock their way in. It's kind of like seeing a 16 seed in March Madness. But there's a reason why they're a 16 seed. There's a reason why they have to play their way in. And here it's the same thing. Shane Van Gisbergen, I mentioned, he's getting better. But this is definitely not the season. This is definitely not the season I think he would be able to stake for a championship, and that's going to happen. That's just the way it is. And then secondly was the caution on lap 1 for rain. That bothered me because as a fan, I'm excited to see the weather. I'm excited to see what's the strategy going to be like. We have stages to where basically you know how to run the first stage, you know how to run the second stage. The third stage can always be weird because you may have overtime, you may have a caution right as soon as it starts, or a caution right in the middle that creates a break. But overall, that rule of NASCAR just basically telling teams, hey, if there's rain, we're going to throw the caution and we'll bring you down pit road, and you decide. Yes, I do like the fact that NASCAR is not forcing the teams to decide what to do per se, but at the same time, I would have loved to have seen Austin Cindric. We saw him stay out. I would have loved to have seen that 2 team try to. How long would their lead have held if they stayed out while all the others went in. That's the things that bothered me. The things that were kind of just odd and something I would like to see NASCAR change. The playoff format, obviously everyone wants to see it changed. We're at a point where I think fans are okay with going back to a season, a full season points format. And that's another story for another day. But for the road courses where teams can race on wet tires nowadays, I don't see why they couldn't do it in that situation. But as I now wait on Matt to join us here, I'll go ahead and I can highlight the Pocono race weekend. So starting off, there's that logistical nightmare again of getting from Mexico City back into the States. I don't know how the teams are doing. I'm assuming going to probably head to Charlotte and then head up to Pennsylvania. But it's another thing where the international races are fun. I like the idea of it, but the traveling aspect of it just is really difficult. It creates a hassle basically for these teams. NASCAR talks about wanting to save money, wanting to be in the best interest of the teams, which we've had lawsuits about and everything else nowadays. But we as a fan base can see just the idea of where does it make sense? Where does it create a dilemma of we're seeing we're seeing where teams are having their issues of, okay, we want to make more money, but NASCAR's forcing them to move along and wanting to pull themselves in on here. Sorry. But anyways, just give me 1 second. Sorry about that. But anyways, the idea of NASCAR wanting teams to travel this much creates to where there's like a team infrastructure issue, and it just becomes an issue at that. But the Pocono race weekend, the reason why I wanted to hold off on the 2311 talk was because of the driver at the top of the list here for the average finish is Tyler Reddick. Tyler Reddick has a 3.3 average finish at the track. While he doesn't have the win, it's still very notable here because you see who is the fourth name on that list on Bubba Wallace at 9.7. And while those two teams are while those two teams are struggling to be able to make a win here alongside Riley Herbst, they're still doing well on points. If I go back to the points to the playoff standings here, you see that they are 12th and 13th respectively. So it creates a really fun opportunity so we could have another team lock their way in, but it wouldn't be from below the cutoff line. So that wouldn't be that wouldn't be as important or as notable, I guess, in that sense. But if they have another good points day, they'll help themselves extend it. I'm still a believer in that Chase Elliott and Tyler Reddick don't necessarily have to worry about a win at this point, but it would still be very helpful to have those two for Chase Elliott or Tyler Reddick to be able to make their way in for a win. If you see alongside with the second driver on the list, Chase Elliott, he has the win here back in July of 2022. And while Elliott has not done the best ever since that injury, he has been a driver who has put on a dominant showing at tracks like this. You see he's got a 6.7 average finish, 3 top 10s in 3 races. He's going to be a contender up front. That's just how it's going to be for him. And then we go down the list. You see William Byron, someone who's there almost every single weekend is the top of the chart. And then there's Eric Jones, a Legacy Motor Club driver. Another driver I'm highlighting once again because of the fact that this is a team that I'd like to start seeing top 5s out of, maybe even top 3s. We've seen them. We saw it at Daytona with Jimmy Johnson, but that's team owner and it's a super speedway. But the obvious pick here for who should be the driver we look out for, who should be the names we look out for. They're not near the top of the list, but we have Denny Hamlin. we have Kyle Larson. Those are obviously the two. But you need to keep in mind as well for the drivers up here that I'm still liking 2311 and with Tyler Reddick and Bubba Wallace. Those two have put on good showings here, and those two should have a good day here. It should help with the points, as I'll bring it back up here again, and it will be able to create a sense of a security, I guess. You see Bubba Wallace is almost 60 points above the cutoff line, and it's helping him out here. It's creating a better way for him to work out for a driver, not needing to stress about a win, and it's being able to bring on a driver that will help out overall. I want to apologize for the issue here of I'm trying to find the link here, but sorry for Matt Weaver to join, but the website's being odd for me. So I'll keep trying to go through here, trying to figure out how to get them on. So I'd like to apologize for that. But the overall weekend should be exciting for the fans, for anyone going. And it may be a long weekend as well. It's going to be a tiring one. Like I've mentioned, many teams have had to move a lot of equipment, go to a lot of places. And it's creating an environment to where, hey, we're kind of tired. It's kind of a long journey, I guess, and it's not really helping anyone out per se. But Pocono's always a fun weekend. Pocono will always be a track that fans, drivers alike will be excited for, and that it will create a sense of excitement here for anyone else that is wanting to enjoy the race. I'm going to try something real quick. I hope this does not end the stream, but I'm going to see if I can be able to hop right back on here. So just give me 1 second to try to fix this issue. Thank you so much. All right, I'm back. All right, so I hope this worked. I'm just trying to get Matt Weaver on to join me. I've heard the noise of him being able to join, but just the technical issues I've been having. I'm trying to get him on. I've never had these issues before, so I just once again want to apologize for that. I want to apologize to him as well. I'm not sure if he's still in here or not, but back to the Pocono talk. It's a fun track. You've got some of the longest straights in on the circuit. It's going to be a track with a lot of passing zones, but we've recently seen where fuel can become an issue, where the strategy becomes an issue in the final stage. So a driver I'd like to highlight for the fuel issues, for the strategy issues, are going to be William Byron. He's done well at this track. He's, as I mentioned earlier, he's got that average finish of 10th. But at the same time, he has led many laps here, but has not been able to finish the race with the win. He's been in second, he's been up front, but this season could end up being different for him. A few of the drivers I want to go ahead and talk about the best bets now that I have for the weekend. William Byron's one of the drivers I like for a top 5. He's sitting at plus 110 on DraftKings, and it's good reason. I really think that he's a driver that's just so consistent at this point of being good. We saw how Mexico City went. He had to go from the back of the field, it seemed, and he finished 9th on the day. Another bet I like is Alex Bowman at plus 110 to finish in the top 10. Alex Bowman has done well. We saw how he did, finished 4th in Mexico City with the injury, and this is a track he's won at. If we remember back in 2021 with the race where Kyle Larson basically lost on the last lap because of a tire issue, Alex Bowman came by and won, but even then, he still finished second in that race. He would have finished second in that race if Kyle Larson did not blow the tire. But overall, it's a race that I think Hendrick Motorsports will do well in. I think it's something that as a team the Chevys should do well. I think the Toyotas. I think all three teams will do well. Because you got to remember, last year, Ryan Blaney won at this track. Ryan Blaney was the winner here last season. So if you want to talk about Penske maybe coming in and stealing one, they could. This is a track that it could be it could be a track where Penske does end up stealing another one. And when I say steal, I don't really mean it in the way that they're going to take it from another team, but it's just the fact that we kind of are at a point to where we don't really think about Penske always dominating every weekend. We think, hey, it's a super speedway. They have the speed, they might do well. But the last best bet I have was for Bubba Wallace at -115 for a top 5. I talk about how I really like the 2311 cars this weekend. And by that I mean Tyler Reddick and Bubba Wallace. I do not think they will win. I just think it's going to be another one of those races that are going to be to one of the favorites, one of the drivers who might already have a win this season. But I do think they will do very well. I think they'll both finish in the top 10. It'll be a good day overall for 2311. Now, the driver that is notable this weekend is Denny Hamlin, since he is coming back from the paternity leave for his newborn son. And obviously, I don't think that's going to really impact him that much. I don't think it's going to really impact anyone that much. I think it's just going to be it's just going to be him showing up, dominating everybody, and all being good. So I think that Denny Hamlin will be a driver who will be up front most of the day, will be someone to contend with. I would not be shocked if it's between him and Kyle Larson. But at the same time, there's a reason why whenever we go back to the Pocono drivers list, you don't see Kyle Larson near the top on here. You see him with a 12.7 average finish and only one top 10. So could this be a track where maybe you could take advantage of the fact that, hey, he may not be that good here, or hey, he may not be the best driver here? And that's true. But there's another driver we should touch on, Christopher Bell. Christopher Bell, he finished second last week. Looked like he could have been able to steal the win if Shane Van Gisbergen wasn't so good on the road courses. But with 3 wins already this season, has 2 top 10s, he's still looking for a win there. I think it's very important that we talk about Christopher Bell, because recently he's been someone that has been a dominant driver, has been a driver that is, I would consider on the same level of William Byron right now. Those two have been the most consistent when it comes to, even if they are in trouble, they somehow find a way out of it. They somehow still put up a good points day. And overall, those are the two that I think will be fighting for the regular season championship by the time it's said and done, with William Byron still leading right now. I know I haven't really touched on that, but it's because in the grand scheme of things, it necessarily, while there is a trophy at the end of the regular season, there's a reason why the die-cast and merch is made for the race after Phoenix here in the fall. But overall, with the Pocono weekend, I'm looking forward to who's the driver that's going to be able to maybe dive bomb a little more than normal. Because you got to think about this way: there's 3 different corners, all 3 are different because they're based off of different tracks around the world. These drivers are going to have to kind of think of themselves in a road course sense because of the fact that they may not be able to find that clean air. That's been an issue. It's a fast track. You got one of the longest straightaways on the circuit. So dirty air plays a big factor. It may look like an IndyCar race where these drivers are going to be swerving in and out from the high side to the low side on the track, trying to maintain a distance away from the car behind them. But overall, it should be a fun weekend. The driver I like for the weekend is going to be Kyle Larson. I think that he will be able to figure it out and bounce back. But the drivers I do want to keep an eye on, because obviously I don't think it's always about the winner per se. But I'd like to keep an eye on the Penske drivers. I think that if one of them can get a second win, we may finally get a clear Penske front runner here. I'd like to keep an eye on the 2311 cars. I've talked about them a lot. And I will also throw in Denny Hamlin there because he's the owner of the team. And then as well, finally, to end it all off for the stream, was the was the fight between, well, not the fight, but the issues of, of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Carson Hocevar. And that clearly was a major storyline because Carson Hocevar spun out Ricky Stenhouse Jr. while being a lap down, creates many issues because of the fact that, hey, Carson said sorry after Nashville, and we thought it was cleared up. Then he goes to Mexico City, and he basically dumped Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Carson shared that it was an accident. I'm sure it was, but at the same time, it's just not a good look. It's been a rough week for Carson Hocevar after he got fined as well for the statements he had made about Mexico City on stream. And if you're a Ricky Stenhouse Jr. fan, while it's been a struggle for him this season, it's not one that has been it's not one that's been bad because you see that he's still in the front running for the playoffs. But other than that, I want to first off apologize because I'm not sure what the issue is with my computer. It may be the streaming site itself. I'm not able to get Matt Weaver on, and I want to apologize firstly to you guys and as well to Matt Weaver for the issues as well. But I want to thank you guys so much for joining. I hope you guys enjoy the Pocono race weekend this weekend. And most importantly, stay safe out there. Thank you so much for joining today.